Hello, this is Professor Bong de Ungria of the Ateneo Graduate School of Business, and the topic today is Fundamental Trends Shaping Marketing. This is part of the general heading Marketing 4.0, moving from traditional to digital. In this short lecture, we will tackle the power shift to the connected customers. The diagram shows a scale where the balance of power has tilted to the connected customers and the away from brands and companies. In this period of uncertainty caused by COVID-19, the connected customer is even more powerful. Now, power has shifted and has continued to shift away from brands and companies towards the connected customer. There are three reasons for this. One is the shift from vertical to horizontal, exclusive to inclusive, and individual to social. And part of this lecture will feature local application as far as MBA learning is concerned. So, it cannot be disputed that, especially today in the 21st century, more power is now with the connected customers than with brands and companies, and the balance of power continues to shift in favor of connected customers. Again, the three reasons for the shift are vertical to horizontal, exclusive to inclusive, individual to social. All this give more power to our consumers, to our customers. Now, why is there a shift from vertical to horizontal? Once upon a time, it was the companies who used to drive the communication flow from the company vertically down to its targeted segments. So the companies supply, make, distribute, advertise, and sell, and the customers just receive that vertical communication. It allowed companies to target markets which to serve, and that is understandable because of the limited resources of companies, but it also meant that other segments which were not targeted were either unserved or underserved. So there is discriminatory targeting because companies, of course, would utilize their finite resources to hit their target markets. Today, connected customers communicate with each other and don't depend on the vertical communication from the company. Customers communicate through social media, word of mouth, crowdsourcing, listening to good and fake news. Well, fake news is if it's not favorable to you, and even share viral photos and videos. So there is much more horizontal communication than vertical communication. As a result, companies have been forced to adopt and collaborate with external partners so that some of the key processes in the value chain will be performed by them. So as far as supply is concerned, instead of producing it, having the supply itself, companies depend on a pool of suppliers. Instead of making it themselves, companies depend on toll manufacturers and even third-party logistics for distribution. Horizontal means a level playing field due to globalization. It means that smaller companies can now compete versus big companies. It also requires co-creation with customers and partners. So instead of the company just determining how the marketing mix will be, it is now co-created with customers and partners. And instead of pure competition with competitors, it is now also called co-opetition. And instead of depending on trusting the marketing communication vertically from companies, customer trust now comes from the four F factors: friends, families, Facebook fans, and followers in Twitter. And because of this, brands need to be peers and friends of the customers. Brands are no longer a sacred cow or something that the customers will just have to accept the way it is. And horizontal also means that innovation is driven by ideas from the customers or from the market, the group of customers. It no longer is controlled by the company. The second reason for the shift is inclusivity. As we know, GCash and PayMaya and Lazada now work together to bring in retail sales online. Grab uses various drivers who are not company employees to deliver from various restaurants, consolidating the supply and the demand. Angkas uses the same cell phone technology to be able to connect passengers with riders. So inclusivity allows bigger target markets. It is actually required because of the economic and demographic changes. Economic, like the emerging markets in Asia, are now bigger and more important than the developed markets in Europe and in North America. The millennial generation is now starting to exercise their buying power, and inclusivity requires to us companies to include them in our creation of the marketing mix. Inclusivity is also accelerated by social media because this has eliminated geographic, demographic, and even time barriers, allowing people from different regions and different time zones to communicate with themselves, with others, and with other suppliers. This has been enabled by technology with miniaturization. Products are now becoming smaller, easier to ship, put in a box, and ship all across the globe. Automation allows different processes to be done without too much labor, and the internet allows free flow of communication and financial payments. This inclusivity is seen in the convergence of industries like telcos are now acting like banks because they can hold monies in their e-wallets, transfer from one region to another, similar to what a bank can do. And we also see this convergence in new business models in Airbnb, now being the largest hotel without owning a hotel, Grab delivery, as mentioned, matching supply and demand without hiring one employee to do it, and Angkas having 30,000 riders to service commuters who actually need them when they need them. Now, the third reason for the power shift is now buying decision has become increasingly social. Before, and even today, there are two reasons or two drivers for purchases. Number one is the individual buying preference, and number two, there is a desire for social conformity. Now, letter B has been growing because now people can see what you wear, how you speak, how successful you are through social media, and there is pressure to conform. So that connectivity increases the effect of social conformity in the buying decision. And now, with all this connectivity, communities, groups of people may be unrelated to one another in geography, but related in terms of shared interest. Communities now control conversation about the brand. It used to be that the company controlled this conversation. So, given these two concepts, the shift away from brands and companies, and knowing what the reasons for the shifts are, how can we see this applied in my local application? So, for you, it's very familiar that now students have very easy access to information. Once upon a time, it was the professor using the textbook and meeting in the same synchronous classroom that the conversation was controlled. Today, it is through word of mouth, Google, student evaluation, social media, Viber, Messenger, SMS, notes and assignments from previous classes. That is what is happening. And because of this, there is a shift from vertical to horizontal conversation. So, for me, as the coach, as the professor of the class, I must shift to teaching and coaching 4.0 because now the students demand 4.0. So, I use YouTube and Google a lot, deploy a lot of web links and online links to enhance, to make simple, even asynchronous class sessions. It used to be that the classes are exclusive. One class can be separated physically and in time from another class. But today, the reality is this current class can compare notes, copy, share, and adapt based on learnings from similar classes in the past or even different classes with different professors. So it can no longer be an exclusive boundary, and I, as the coach, needs to understand that this inclusivity presents new challenges. From individual to social, there is also peer pressure because now peer evaluation is easier, faculty evaluation is automatic, and often the pressure to conform supersedes individual opinion. So, my actionable insight from this is I need to move from VCoach 2.0 to VCoach 4.0. So, now, if you're watching this, this is a video recording which is more powerful than a blog post, which I used to require, which is more effective than a PowerPoint that is still the current standard for many classes. Why is a video post better? Because this allows the individual, the student, and even the professor to record their presentation independently, asynchronously, and rehearse as many times as possible within the time limit to submit the best possible version of their report instead of trying it once and forcing it in a live class, which today is not possible because of COVID-19. So now my student reports are necessarily in YouTube format. It's harder, but it's more effective. And again, the promise to my students is whatever I require you to do, I do it myself. And I give you templates and samples for you to be able to do it well. The second actionable insight is targeted web posting. So now, instead of just random posting anywhere, for my professional post, I put it in LinkedIn. For easy sharing with co-faculty, with current, past, and future students, I host my 95% of my content in blogs and SlideShare, and I still use Facebook for social media and connecting with, again, current, past, and future students. Today, there can be many, many touch points where the student and the professor can interact. It's best to manage them well because unless the expectation is managed, students can communicate through different screens, meaning Messenger, text, Viber, email, and it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to answer and all this in different screens. So for my class, I made it very clear that we will limit the screen for instant communication through Viber because responding quickly and sincerely is as important as technical knowledge. They said it doesn't really matter how much you know until they know how much you care. Last, I need to use latest and locally relevant information. Every year, a We Are Social report comes out, and the 2020 report came out, and I can't possibly use data from 2017, although that will still be very recent, but we have 2020 data, so it will be totally unacceptable to still keep using old data when newer data is available. So, for example, this April 2017 article by Forbes is still probably relevant, but the challenge is to connect to find out more updated reports, especially with COVID 19. So, in summary, we have learned and discussed that there's been a power shift to connected customers away from brands and companies. And this is because of three factors: vertical to horizontal, exclusive to inclusive, individual to social. I'd like you to connect with me. My name is Remio Joseph de Ungria, or Bong de Ungria. I have a YouTube channel with the same name, a blog with the same name, and a LinkedIn profile. I hope that this lecture and the short time with you has convinced you that connecting will be of value to both of us. Again, what we have discussed is the power shift to the connected customers, which are part of the fundamental trends shaping marketing today. Thank you.